If you drink coffee every day, you probably assume the bag you buy is basically fine. Maybe not perfect, but fine. But coffee is a farm product, and sometimes farm products come with baggage. Quick safety note before we start. This is general information, not medical advice. If you're pregnant, have kidney issues, deal with anxiety, or take medications that don't mix well with caffeine, it's smart to run your coffee habits by your clinician. Now, let's talk about what people are really worried about when they say dirty coffee. Usually it's three things: mold toxins that can show up when beans are stored damp or handled poorly, pesticide residues, depending on how the crop was grown and processed, and heavy metals, because plants naturally pull minerals out of soil, and sometimes that includes stuff you'd rather not consume every day. Here's the catch, though. Most of the time, you and I can't look at a bag on a shelf and know any of that for sure. We can't smell clean, we can't eyeball tested, and we definitely can't guess what happened during storage just because the label looks premium. So instead of making dramatic claims about what's inside every bag, I want to do something more useful. I'm ranking 8 grocery store coffee brands by one thing that actually matters if you're trying to avoid guessing. Transparency, not vibes, not fear. Transparency. Because if a brand won't tell you where it came from, won't give you a roast date, and won't share any testing standards, then you're stuck trusting marketing. And I don't know about you, but marketing isn't comfort, it's just a nice font. Here's my simple transparency score out of 10. I'm judging each brand on 4 basics. Do they give you a roast date, not just a Best By date? Do they give you real sourcing details, like origin, region, or anything beyond vague words? Do they have any verifiable standards, like credible, certifications, or clear supply chain information? And do they provide any kind of testing transparency, even if it's just explaining what they test for and why? Alright, let's start with the biggest black boxes first. Great Value Coffee from Walmart. This one is all about price, and that's not a moral failing, that's reality. Plenty of people buy it because they need coffee that fits the budget, and I respect that. But transparency-wise, it's a mystery bag. With private label coffee, the supplier can change, the blend can change, and the sourcing can change without you ever noticing. You usually won't see roast dates. You usually won't see sourcing beyond general language. And you almost never see anything that helps you verify quality controls. So is it automatically bad? Not necessarily, it's just unknown. Transparency score for Great Value is a 2 out of 10. Next, Folgers. Folgers is built around consistency. That's what it sells. It's the same taste, the same roast profile, the same experience year after year. And for some people, that's exactly what they want. But the bigger the distribution, the longer the supply chain usually gets. That can mean more time between roast and your cup, and less detailed information on the packaging. You're rarely getting a roast date. You're not getting batch-level detail. You're not getting testing information you can actually check. You're basically being told, trust the system. Transparency score for Folgers is a 3 out of 10. Next, Maxwell House. This one sits in the same lane. Legacy brand, massive scale, built for shelf stability and predictable flavor. And again, that doesn't prove anything scary. It just means you're not buying a product that's designed to show you the details. If you're the kind of person who wants receipts, Maxwell House usually doesn't hand you any. Transparency score for Maxwell House is a 3 out of 10. Next up, McCafe Coffee. Sold in stores. This is where people get tripped up because the name feels familiar. You think McCafe, you think consistent. But the grocery aisle version is its own thing, with its own packaging realities. Most of the time you get roast descriptors, maybe some origin hints, but not the kind of clarity that answers the big questions people worry about. Roast dates are uncommon. Testing transparency is uncommon. So if you're trying to reduce guessing, it's still mostly guesswork. Transparency score for McCafe grocery coffee is a 4 out of 10. Next, Dunkin' packaged coffee. Dunkin' is another familiar name situation. Lots of people love the taste, and again, taste is a valid reason to buy something. But transparency? It's usually limited. You'll get a roast level and some flavor language. You generally won't get roast dates. You usually won't get anything that tells you how they're handling the risk factors people talk about, like storage conditions, mold prevention, or residue standards. Transparency score for Dunkin' packaged coffee is a 4 out of 10. Next, Starbucks packaged coffee. This one is a little different because Starbucks, as a company, talks more openly about sourcing programs and internal standards than most old-school grocery brands do. That's a real plus. But the grocery bags still usually don't give you what transparent buyers want most. You're typically not seeing roast dates. You're not seeing batch-level testing. And we have standards is not the same as here's what we tested for. So I'll give them credit for more sourcing conversation, but I'm not calling it fully transparent. Transparency score for Starbucks packaged coffee is a 5 out of 10. Next, 8 o'clock coffee. This is one of those brands that can land in a slightly better spot depending on the specific product and where you buy it. Sometimes it's simply fresher turnover in certain stores. Sometimes it's slightly clearer labeling. But in most grocery setups, you're still not getting roast dates, and you're still not getting anything like testing documentation. It's more normal bag coffee than open book. Transparency score for 8 o'clock is a 5 out of 10. Next, community coffee. If you're in an area where community coffee moves fast off shelves, that alone can help because speed matters. Coffee isn't a forever product. The longer it sits, the more flat it gets, and the less confident you can be about how it's been stored. Community can also feel a bit more straightforward in its brand communication, depending on the product. Do you get full testing transparency? Usually no. But do you sometimes get a clearer sense that it's not just a faceless commodity in a giant system? More often, yes. Transparency score for community coffee is a 6 out of 10. Now here's the part that matters, because I don't want you walking away thinking, cool, everything is terrible. This isn't about panic, it's about control. And the single easiest test is this. Does the brand show its work? Not trust us, not premium, not mountain grown. Show the work. The more a brand gives you, like roast dates, clear origin, and real standards you can verify, the less guessing you have to do. So if you want to tighten this up without turning your kitchen into a laboratory, here's the practical move. Buy whole bean when you can. Whole beans protect flavor longer, and they naturally push you toward fresher coffee habits. Look for a roast date. Best by dates are about shelf life. Roast dates are about freshness. Buy smaller amounts more often. I know it's annoying, but it's the difference between coffee that tastes alive and coffee that tastes tired. Store it like it matters. Airtight container, cool dark cabinet, away from heat. Not next to the stove, not in a sunny glass jar like it's decoration. If pesticides are your main concern, organic coffee can reduce exposure to synthetic pesticides. It's not a magic shield, but it can be a meaningful filter. If mold toxins are your main concern, the best move is choosing brands that openly discuss quality control and, when possible, actually provide documentation or certificates. Some specialty brands say they test for things like mycotoxins and publish results. If you go that route, don't take anyone's word for it. Check that the results are current and specific. And one more thing people forget. If your coffee is pre-ground and it's been sitting open for weeks, it can taste harsh and stale, even if it started as decent coffee. Sometimes what people call bad coffee is just old coffee. If you take nothing else from this, take this. You don't need to be scared of coffee. You just need to stop buying blind. Because the big difference between a confident choice and a guessing game is simple. The brand either shows you what you're buying, or it doesn't. And if you want, tell me the exact coffee you drink, the bag or the pod. I'll tell you what to look for on the label so you can judge it fast, without overthinking it.